COVID set back students in K-12 by on average 5 months from where they should be. And I think the result of that is that learning and outcomes matter more than they ever have. And that's great for our business because the product we deliver is absolutely the best thing you can do to address learning loss or to catch up or to get ahead.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Growth Hacks, a podcast from TCV where we discuss strategies and secrets to unlocking high growth with CMOs, CROs, and growth-minded leaders. I'm Kunal Mehta, and I'm a principal at TCV focused on go-to-market strategy.
And I'm Katja Gagan, principal at TCV and head of marketing. Join us as we bring you the growth and marketing playbooks from technology's best and brightest, and chat with operators as they are in the process of innovating. This is Growth Hacks. Today we're being joined by a consumer marketing expert. It is my pleasure to introduce Adam Weber, who is CMO of NRDY, a TCV portfolio company in the EdTech space. Adam leads marketing across performance, product marketing, communications, content, and CRM. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you. And it's a pleasure to be on the Growth Hacks podcast today.
Awesome. Well, Adam, maybe you can just tell us where this podcast finds you today.
I am recording live from my home office in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is where I am from and live with my wife and 3 kids.
Cool. And maybe you can just give us the wonder years of how you got to where you are today.
I'll give you the abridged version. I spent 8 years at Procter & Gamble in brand management, brand marketing, which was just awesome, foundational, the best quote unquote MBA you could get by learning in real life. But probably more notably, recently, I helped lead marketing at Dollar Shave Club, which was also in the TCV portfolio. From the early days, I was the 10th employee all the way 5+ years through when the company was acquired by Unilever in 2016. I got to do a little bit of everything in the marketing world, everything from performance marketing to brand, creative, content, which was really exciting if you're a right brain, left brain marketer like myself. I also, just to note, had a couple of, I don't want to call them failed, but far less successful startup roles before and after Dollar Shave Club. So not everything was as rosy as it sounds.
It never really is, right? Because growth comes from learning, and that comes from both succeeding and failing.
That's right, 100%.
And now you're at NRDY. Tell us, what is NRDY all about?
So NRDY, which is led by our flagship consumer brand, Varsity Tutors, connects experts and learners to deliver high-quality live instruction and online learning in over 3,000 subjects, really anything from kindergarten phonics to high school test prep to collegiate academic, even professional certifications. We deliver it through multiple learning formats. We're most known for our one-to-one tutoring, but we also deliver live classes in small group formats and in live large auditorium-like formats, and even have a personalized self-study solution to supplement. The company focuses and really is built that business on the backs of technology and AI, which helps us deliver personalized learning at scale through our expert vetting, the algorithms that match the experts to learners, and then through our purpose-built live learning platform, which really goes above and beyond the standard video face-to-face interfaces that exist like Zoom.
Amazing. So Adam, your company just did a really nice job going public. Maybe you can tell us what a typical day is like and what's changed between being private versus being public from a marketing perspective.
I think for us, our big principled approach to the process of going public, which does take a long time, was to just focus on the execution. We thought that was ultimately the best way to deliver the best return for our current investors that were with us when they were private and help us attract the right long-term investors. We have an amazing product. We have a really strong vision for the company. It's this really transformative time in the category of education right now. And we did our best to try and not let the process distract us too much from getting done what we needed to get done.
I think that's great advice for all marketers. Just continue to keep your heads down and focus. You've become an expert in the process of going public. And I think it'd be good to just hear for marketers that are in companies that are about to go public, what is it that they had to do to get ready?
Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised by the process itself and actually what role me as a marketer was asked to play. And what I mean by that is I kind of thought that the process was like a financial only type of discussion. And look, I've helped raise different financial rounds in the private sector with Dollar Shave Club in previous years. And I understood, especially in early stage companies, the importance of the story and the narrative in those discussions. But I thought with later stage investors, that wouldn't be as true. And what I was really surprised by was that it wasn't really all about the data. Obviously, the financials matter and the data is paid attention to, but it was really important to enroll potential investors, even at this late stage institutional phase, to what makes the company unique, why we're different, and how it can grow into the future. And that's a fundamental aspect of what your job is as a marketer at these companies. And so I was kind of thrust in to help develop that story and make sure it was clear and concise and delivered in a way that was interesting to the investment community. And I think that was a really surprising and really exciting part of the process.
You also made the transition from Dollar Shave Club to EdTech, which is interesting. What are some of the main lessons as a marketer that you brought to NRDY, and what surprised you?
It was a pretty significant change, and particularly in the industry. I think that was probably what my biggest lesson was really understanding that when you transition, especially going from a personal care category to education, that you really have to understand the nuance and the differences between how customers make decisions. So for example, Dollar Shave Club, it's a very affordable razor. You're thinking about a $6 purchase. And so customers will make those decisions very impulsively. And in education or tutoring, it's a highly considered, highly personal decision. And people really want to build trust and be thoughtful about making that type of investment. So our go-to-markets had to be fundamentally different to reflect the different types of decisions, whether that was, if you think about Dollar Shave Club, our funnel was about just getting to the point of commitment quickly and reducing as much possible decision friction as could exist. But in Varsity Tutors, we spend a lot of time developing a two-way communication with our customers, helping understand their needs so that we can build trust with them and make sure we deliver the best possible solution for them. And so I think the biggest marketing takeaway and strategy change is that you got to know the nuance and the decision-making for the category you're in and make sure that your go-to-market reflects it.
Tell us a little bit more about your go-to-market strategy. How did you go about this when you joined? What changes did you make during COVID?
So I think it's probably maybe to overly simplify on the customer acquisition side, it is a very search-based category. There's a lot of search volume. A lot of people start their discovery process for getting help in the Google bar. We do design a lot of our experiences around understanding that demand, understanding the intent in that demand, and personalizing the website experiences and the telesales experience to basically cater to the different types of intent that come in through search. So that's a big aspect of the go-to-market and one that's been really honed in over time. And maybe on the flip side, one of the more newer aspects of the go-to-market and something that we did differently during COVID was we really switched and did a much more product-led strategy for growth, which was we put our product experience at the top of the funnel, encouraged people to engage with us. We offered to them for free through this initiative called Star Courses, which basically takes highly notable celebrity experts in a field. This was largely focused on K-12 enrichment topics. So think of astronauts, animators, experts. And we allowed prospective clients to engage with us for free and go to these live classes that were taught by these well-known experts and get really unique experiences from our platform. And I think that helped us go to the top of funnel, build a lot of trust and credibility along the way, and then nurture those relationships into more monetized client base over time. And so we're really thinking of our go-to-market on the capture the search query and demand that exists out there, but then also lead with our product experience and build trust at the top of the funnel with content and interesting, unique content.
That's awesome. You guys rolled out a ton of programs during COVID. I remember my daughter commenting on the astronaut session specifically, and she just loved it. Maybe you can speak to those, the impact and the lessons you learned during COVID.
COVID's had such a transformational impact on the education category. We were right dead smack in the middle of a lot of that transformation and change that's occurred. Every metric we study and track is showing just an incredible level of openness and willingness, and frankly, even now desire and preference for learning online that didn't exist pre-COVID. And so one of the major things was just the change in our business as more and more people are willing to learn through technology, which really sets us up for long-term success. But I do think there were some underlying kind of short-term and potentially even over time trend lines that we see happening. One I kind of mentioned about Star Courses, there was this huge growth in enrichment, a desire for people to actually blend fun and learning together, which was kind of around pre-COVID, but I think really, really jump-started in COVID because for a while there, learning was a chore through the schools in particular. And it was tough whether it was done remotely or it was done isolation. And I think there a lot of families turned to online learning as a place where they could bring together and enrich their students and make learning fun again. So we really leaned into that as a trend and really built out an enrichment program that didn't even exist in our portfolio prior to COVID. The other major trend, and this is one that we kind of think is the most critical one, is that learning right now matters more than it ever has. COVID, because of the impact it's had on schools, I think there's a McKinsey study that said this, it set back students in K-12 by on average 5 months from where they should be based on their learning journey. And I think the result of that is that learning and outcomes matter more than they ever have. And that's great for our business because the product we deliver is absolutely the best thing you can do to address learning loss or to catch up or to get ahead. And what we're seeing as a trend line in our business and how we adapted to that is not only did we see that in our kind of direct to consumer business, but we saw and were able to partner with schools for really the first time in our business's history and develop out an institutional strategy that allowed us to go to schools who are the ones who are catching the blunt force of this COVID learning loss problem, and combined with a teacher shortage that's happening nationwide, are looking for partners like us that can address that need, not just in the short term, but now durably over the long term, we believe. And so I think the two biggest pivots we've seen in our business, or I should say additions to our growth strategy, has been utilizing enrichment as a mechanism to get people into our ecosystem and to have fun while learning, and then also address a lot of the academic needs that are in the market right now by partnering directly with schools.
Yes, and I think NRDY or Varsity Tutors saved many parents during the pandemic, including myself, with your virtual summer camps that were awesome because such a variety of topics across various levels. Thank you so much.
I mean, it is funny you say that. Like, one of the advantages of online is the availability of selection. It's really hard for your local YMCA or school to deliver a broad option base of summer camps or after school programs. When you're online and you have a purpose-built platform like we do, that's possible. And so we can offer 10, 15 different types of summer camps and after school programs that just can't be offered on a local basis.
Thanks, Adam. So as you look into consumer markets, we want to drill deeper in a couple of areas where we'd love to get your input as a CMO who's worked for two iconic companies. During COVID, we found that changes that we thought were short-term might be a bit longer. What are some of the other permanent changes that marketers should be planning on?
Yeah, I think with all the changes right now in the privacy landscape, I think that marketers need to get really used to measurement being very tough. And I think it's going to probably get worse before it gets better. Back in the Dollar Shave Club, there was certainly no perfectly insulated silver bullet to measurement, but we definitely had a good grasp on how every dollar we spent was impacting our bottom line. And I think in these days where we have less visibility to what's happening in the user journey and we're able to track it to a far less degree than we used to, the key is about triangulation and really being able to get at it from multiple angles on what's working and what's not. Sometimes through some of the measurement vehicles that exist in tracking a user online, but also understanding brand health metrics, understanding survey data, and in multiple ways, understanding what's happening underneath the hood so that you can get better and optimize.
Fantastic. From Adam, thank you. We typically end our podcast with a series of rapid fire questions. So I wanted to start with a book and a movie that changed your life.
Yeah. So on the book front, I don't know that it's any single book, but I'm like a huge fan of presidential biographies, which I think really give you a really inside track to how decision-making and leadership is really conducted at the highest levels of really the world. Right now, I'm reading a book, Theodore Rex, which is about Teddy Roosevelt's kind of formative years as a president, which I find really interesting. It's one of the examples of that kind of genre that I enjoy. On the movie front, I guess I'd go with Dead Poets Society. I watched Dead Poets Society for the first time as a high school junior in my English class. I think it really taught really important things in life, like seizing the day, carpe diem, finding yourself, being true to yourself, taking risks. And I think it was a really important movie at that stage in my life.
Thanks, Adam. And since you're a lifetime learner, what's one skill you want to pick up or an area you want to learn more about next?
Yeah, lifelong learning, super important for us at NRDY and something we really believe in. For me, oddly enough, I'm kind of starting to get into coding. I've never learned how to code. I'm not a developer, but my kids who are 7, 6, and 4 are really into coding right now. And they actually learn on our platform at Varsity Tutors. And through that, I've been myself kind of starting to learn and spend more time coding. Not because I'm using it at work on a day-to-day basis, but because I find it intriguing and challenging. So my kids are actually really heavily influencing my learning right now.
I love the way kids just have that impact, right? I know our listeners would love to hear what your favorite marketing metrics are.
Yeah, I think it's tough to pick one, but real quick, I guess ROAS to me is really critical as a marketer, return on ad spend. You got to pay the bills and you got to be accountable as a marketer, especially as a CMO. And I think ROAS is the ultimate metric of accountability. But maybe the less notable metric that matters, I pay attention to a lot, is unaided awareness. I think it really shows the strength of your brand, shows how top of mind you are in your category, and I think it usually is most correlated to growth over time. So unaided awareness is the unsung hero of the metric landscape.
That's really interesting. And what's a lesson learned in your career that you want to pass on to your younger self?
I think if I were to reflect back on my earlier years of my career, I think you got to think about your career as kind of more like chess, not checkers, and plan a couple moves ahead and realize that not every role is your ultimate destination. When I left Procter & Gamble, I left for a lateral move, less money, not the best title. But for me, it was a role where I knew I could learn. I had gaps in what it was going to take for me to become a great marketing leader or a CMO one day. And that move out of P&G and into an e-commerce company allowed me to do that. And then it set me up for success to join Dollar Shave Club, which was, obviously a great experience.
Yeah, I think there's great wisdom in that, Adam, because the faster you learn, the faster you're going to rise. So closing those gaps really matter. Maybe we can end on the most interesting life hack.
Life hack. This one I definitely have picked up since COVID. The walking meeting. We were a remote-friendly company before COVID. We are now obviously fully remote. And most of my meetings are in video in my home office. I think it's really important to be present on video for most meetings. But I will take probably 1 to 2 one-on-ones per day in all weather, and I will walk them. It gives me energy. I can actually focus. I don't multitask. And of course, it kind of covers my exercise for the day. So walking meetings is my big life hack.
That is awesome. We learned, Adam, that you're not only a lifetime learner, but also now a lifetime walker. And when the time is right, I'm hoping we can take you on a walk and talk more about everything we covered today, from how CMOs should think about demand gen, why the customer experience matters now more than ever, and also how someone who was dealing in the consumer space with shaving and grooming products made the successful transition to the EdTech space. Thanks so much for being on the podcast today, Adam.
Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun, and I'll be happy to go on a walk with you any day.
Thanks for listening to Growth Hacks. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. To learn more about us and TCV's CEO and founder podcast, go to tcv.com or email us at growthhacks@tcv.com.